What's going on, YouTube? Back with another one. We're currently getting unloaded in Indiana, just east of Indianapolis, not too far, here at a Remington Seed, delivering some empty boxes, and we got to go back to Leroy, Illinois, and pick up our empties to come back over here again tomorrow. This is run I've been doing so far all week, and we'll be doing the rest of the week. But yeah, pretty simple, easy. The reason why I haven't filmed multiple videos this week, but you know, some days are more interesting than others. But for anybody that's new here, this is my 2023 W900L, 650 horsepower, 13 speed, 270 inch wheelbase with a 62 inch sleeper. And for anybody that's new here, if you like what you see or like any of the other videos that are on my channel, you know, consider subscribing and liking the video. But that being said, like I said, we're getting unloaded. We go empty back to Leroy and pick up more empty boxes for tomorrow morning and bring them back over here again. Pretty simple, easy run. It's literally 74 Interstate 74 the whole way, pretty much all the way here, all the way back to Illinois. So yeah, it's a boring run compared to what I'm used to doing, but it pays really well, so I can't really complain. For all the people who are normals here, this is not under my authority. This is under TDR, so I'm just taking this load off of TDR until I get accepted to do my seed stuff on my own. But like I said, that'll be a whole thing on its own, and a whole process that I still got to go through and finish doing to be able to hopefully be accepted to haul this under my authority. But truck's dirty, very, very dirty. Bugs. It got washed Friday, but bugs all over it. But nothing's really changed too much. Besides, I did put a new set of subs in the truck because I might have blown the other sub. Put 2 8s back there instead of the 112 that I had, because I somehow, some way blew the 12. Don't know how, but just one day I jumped in the truck, turned it on, and it sounded like crap. So I went ahead and put those in, readjusted everything for the 2 8s. It actually sounds a lot better with the 2 8s in there instead of the 12. The 12 hit really hard, but I don't know. I like the 2 8s a little better. Better sounding, in my opinion. I got new speakers that are going to be going in the truck. The 2 that are by the doors, one that goes there and here, and then the 2 that are up here and here, and then the 2 that are in the sleeper right there and up there. I'm going to be replacing. I got them on the way. I don't have them yet, but I'll probably be replacing those, not this weekend, but the weekend after. So the audio will be complete in the truck and all, but I'm going to sit here and wait to get unloaded, which they've been unloading me for a while now, so I should be almost done. But get these doors closed, and we'll get on our way to go get loaded. All right, y'all. Well, we are unloaded, so we can get up out of here. I got my gauge mounted. Forgot to tell you guys about that. I don't think I told you guys about that. The gauge is actually mounted now instead of halfway mounted. And I got 2 switches now for the air ride. So I don't know if you guys can see down here or not, but I got 2 switches down here for the air ride. So if you look at the gauge right here, if I hit one, which is just a green needle, that's my driver's side. And then if I hit the other, which is my red needle or orange needle, which is my passenger side. So I can control each side of the truck whichever way I want it to be. Which, what I found with this truck, because this truck rides a little weird, right there is where I need to be. Because for some reason I've been fighting this issue with this truck. The passenger side rides lower than the driver side does. So the driver side, for the truck to be even, the driver side has to be at a lower pressure than the passenger side for the truck to ride completely even. which is about, I don't know, 47 pounds on the driver's side and about, I don't know, 50, about 10, it's about a 10-pound split is what I found. Pretty much is the easiest way of explaining it. It's about 10 pounds different for each side. If I can get it right. There we go. And the truck actually rides a hell of a lot better when it's correct. So that's how I know when I need to adjust it, is if the truck doesn't ride as smooth, then I know I need to adjust the front end. But if you look, it's about right over the fender, about 2 fingers. And over here it's about the same, about right over the fender, about 2 fingers. So it's weird, but the truck actually rides really good that way with 2 different pressures, which is very weird to me. I don't know, I'm gonna have to check into it more. I'm planning on putting new leaf springs on this truck. If you guys watch Custom Rigs, he found out the part number for the air ride springs off the Peterbilts from the factory, the leaf and a half they call them. So I'm gonna get a set of those eventually, put them on the truck and get the truck realigned is the plan. Is the plan eventually, which that'll probably fix my issue more than likely. Like I said, even when you air this truck out, it's a little lower on the passenger side than it is on the driver's side. And it's always kind of been like that. I don't know why. The bags have been adjusted once before. I don't know why I threw these in here. The bags have been adjusted once before. And it was worse until I adjusted them. And like I said, I've done a lot of work to the front end of this truck to try to get it to ride like this, like it is now. So a little off when it comes to the bag pressure is really not that much to bug me. I'll eventually get it 100% perfect, but until then I'll just keep riding the way I'm riding. But 3.5 hours to get home, but it's like 3 hours to get over to Leroy. But while I'm thinking about it, set the bumper back down. Let's talk shifting. And the only reason why I'm saying this is because I want to talk about shifting with your Jake brake on. So I don't know what you guys are really kind of looking at because you're on my head right now. So that's Jake brake off, Jake brake on. So a lot of people, when they're shifting, they have the Jake brake off because the Jake brake kicks in when you take your foot off the pedal. Like Jake brake's off, Jake brake's on, Jake brake kicks on, like most people know. So what my conclusion is, which I got to flip my bumper up here because I cannot make, because they're doing maintenance on this road, so they got it all tore up and they got a big lip over here that I've almost hit one time. But a lot of people, like I said, shift with the Jake brake off. That's a nice Pete. Shift with the Jake brake off because they take their foot completely off the pedal. I guess I should let me set it up like this. A lot of people shift with the Jake brake off when they float gears, so not using the clutch, because they take their foot completely off of the accelerator when when they shift, when they go to shift. But what a lot of people may not know, or may not know how to do, is shift float gears with the Jake brake on, like I just did. Jake brake's on, didn't use my clutch, and I've just floated gears with the Jake brake on, and the Jake brake didn't even kick on. So if you don't know how to do it, which there's one big guy, I wouldn't really call him an influencer, because I hate really calling people influencers these days, but he's I think he's bigger on TikTok than he is on YouTube. But Marvelous Marv, he shifts his truck with the Jake brake on and floats them. And a lot of people that I see in his comments, because I've been watching him for a long time on TikTok, that is, a lot of people always are in his comments like, how do you shift, how do you float gears with the Jake brake on? Because like I said, if you take your foot off, the Jake brake hits, as you can see, which you probably can barely hear it, but Jake brake hits when you take your foot off the accelerator. So how you do it, upshifting and downshifting. So no clutch for upshift, downshift. You only use your clutch to take off and to stop, completely stop. Is your accelerator pedal has a dead spot in it. So at the top of the pedal, so you have completely off the pedal and you have completely on the pedal. So completely off your pedal, your Jake brakes are going to come on, because your Jake brake is on a switch, basically, to where when you're off your pedal, Jake brake comes on. When you're on that switch, the Jake brake doesn't come on. So there's a dead spot probably about that big or so, maybe even smaller than that, in your pedal, where just like now I'm on that dead spot. I'm not completely off the pedal. The truck's not accelerating or anything, but the Jake brake's not on. And then if I lift up just a little bit, well, I'm going too slow, but Jake brake kicks on. So that I'd say that gap, that dead spot's probably about that big. That's where you shift at in your accelerator pedal, to be able to shift with your Jakes on, so your Jakes doesn't kick on and kill your RPM and then you can't get it in gear. Or I can't really say or, I guess I'm more or less should say, and if your Jake brake kicks on while you're floating gears and you're doing this, how do you get out of that? If you just give it a little RPM, you just rev it a little bit and keep your foot in that zone, and then, you know, you don't the Jake brakes don't come on. But just like now, I'm slowing down, you know, not using the clutch, downshift one gear, boom, no clutch, Jake brake still on. But it's not really that hard to do. I don't know if there's just a lot of people that don't know how to do it, or have never figured it out, or what. But this is normally how I drive most of the time. I switch up my driving styles quite often. Sometimes I'll shift with the Jake brake off just because it's easier. If the truck's cold, like early in the morning when I'm just about to start off for the first time of the day and the transmission is cold, it doesn't really like shifting in that dead spot for some stupid reason. Or if it's regenning, it doesn't like really shifting in that dead spot for some stupid reason. So I have to shift with the Jake brake off. But other than that, like most of the time when I'm driving, I normally don't touch that switch. Like there is times I do touch the switch, the most, which my bumper's still up, which I just lowered. The switch that I touch the most is my bumper lift. On the whole dash, the switch I touch the most is my freaking bumper lift out of everything. But realistically, if you want to learn how to do it, if you're, you know, I guess been driving manual for a while and want to learn how to do shift with the Jake brake on, first I always suggest, if you don't know how to float gears, learn how to float gears. Because I know these days when you go to take your test, you have to double clutch, which I could go into a whole nother video on how to drive a manual truck as a beginner to pass your CDL test. But if you don't know how to float, learn how to float gears. I learned how to float gears by sound because the truck that I learned how to drive and always have been around has been non-emissions trucks with straight pipes on them. So I learned how to shift by sound. So when I got to this truck, I had to learn how to shift by RPM rather than by sound. But if you listen close enough to the truck, you can still know when and where to shift. But it was just a little different, you know, when the truck regens and so on and so forth, it acts a little weird. But you gotta learn how to float gears. These freaking roads are horrible. Anyways, you gotta learn how to float gears first. When you learn how to float gears and you get used to floating gears and you know how to float gears, then you can go into shifting with a Jake brake on or shifting in different ways. Like I said, there's a lot of different ways people drive their trucks. I'm not saying my way or the way that I do it is the best method. I'm not saying everybody should do this method. I'm just saying this is the way I do it. There's tons of different ways to shift a truck, especially between 18 speed, 13 speed, yada yada yada, especially with an 18 speed. But like I said, learn how to float first. Once you learn how to float, then you can get into learning how to shift with the Jake brake on. And how you really kind of teach yourself that is if you sit in the truck with it idling and you just barely put your foot on the pedal until the truck RPM slowly starts climbing, and then you just barely get off of it. With the Jake, you gotta have the Jake brake on too when you're sitting there idling, and you barely get off the pedal, the truck should do nothing. The RPM should just fall. Now if you rev the truck a little bit more and you get off the pedal completely, the Jake brake come on and kill the RPM. So that's how you kind of learn that sweet spot in the truck. I don't know if every truck's different. I would say that every truck's a little different depending on the accelerator pedal. This truck and my dad's truck is not really that different when it comes to that dead spot in the pedal. So I'm assuming that most trucks going down the road with manual transmissions, that dead spot is in the same general area. But yeah, it's really not that difficult to do. Like I said, I'll do a little bit more filming once I get into Indianapolis, where I'm in stop and go traffic, a little bit of shifting with the Jakes on. But I don't know, I just think it's safer. I think it's safer just because of the fact you're not doing this all the time. You got to slow down with the Jake brakes. And then it's one of those things where, let's say you're shifting and you're going through gears with the Jake brake off and traffic stops ahead of you. Well, now you got to use your pedal, your brake pedal, to slow down all the way. Well, instead of just having your brake pedal, if you learn how to shift with the Jake brake on, when you get off the gas, you got to immediately stop, where your Jake brakes are pulling you back and your brake pedal's pulling you back, in turn letting you making you stop quicker. So I think it's the safest way to drive a manual truck is with the Jake brake on all the time, if you can learn how to do it. That's just my opinion. I'm not saying it is for sure, because I really don't know for sure, but that's just my opinion. Just because it's always there, it's always on, you can control it with your foot. Your foot's faster than doing this all the time. Your foot's faster because it's already there. All you gotta do is just lift your foot up barely and the Jake brake just kicks on. But I don't know why I wanted to really talk about that. Like I said, I was watching one of his videos today. That's probably the reason why I kind of clicked in my mind. But I'm gonna get into Indianapolis, and once I get into Indianapolis, I'll turn the camera back on once we get in our stop and go traffic, and kind of go over so you can actually see it besides that little bit that I just did in the beginning. Alright, well, I hope you guys can see alright. Coming up on our stop and go portion of the trip, which the only reason why I know that is because I got to go through a lot of stoplights here. So, and just my luck, just because I'm filming and I want to actually stop and go for once, I'll probably get all the way through without even stopping once, but we'll see. first stoplight or not, but guess we shall see. But Jake brake still on, downshift without using my foot, just like that. Foot stays in the same spot, downshifted, Jake brake still on. I don't know if you guys can hear the tone difference, but I'll roll the window down a little bit so you guys can hear. So sorry for a little bit of wind noise if you get a little bit of it, but just so you guys can hear what's going on. But Jake brake's still on. I'll let this guy out. Only use the clutch when I'm coming down to close to a stop, or like now if I'm completely stopped. But I said, that's Jake brake off, Jake brake on, no clutch, floating gears. Still, I've yet to use my left leg until now, where I'm completely stopping. I said, Jake brake's still on. This is more or less just so you guys can see Jake brake is still on. It's still up. It's not down, it's up. So, up is on. If I cut it here, it's because this light took too long. Alright, here we go again. As you can tell, Jake brake's still on because I hit it a little bit. I hit it a little there too. I think it's safer because whenever I need to slow down, I can go straight to Jake brake and onto my brake. I don't have to flip a switch. It just stays on 100% of the time. And sometimes you'll hit it if you get off the clutch, if you get off the accelerator a little too much, you'll hit it. But if you're already shifting through gears, and let's say you hit it bad enough to where you slow down all the way, just give it a little pedal and it'll go into gear. Just like I kind of did where I hit it a little bit, just give it, put your foot on the pedal just a little bit more, and it'll go into gear. Here we go, Jake brake, slow down, coming up to a stoplight, downshift, throttle, out of gear, throttle, in gear. If you don't screw it up like I just did. But if you screw it up a little bit, just give it a little throttle. It's no big deal. Of this light, unfortunately, but it's all cool. next gear. Jake brake's still on. Green light. But as you can see, I still have muscle memory sometimes from when I first started driving this truck to as soon as I get to slow down to be able to restart again to flip it off. I still have that muscle memory because when I first started driving this truck, I had to relearn how to drive all over again because you can't hear this truck, and I know how I learned how to drive was by sound. So to learn to be able to do this all over again, I had to learn how to shift the truck without having to worry about anything. That's a nice purple beat. Slowing down again. Downshift. Clutch. Low range. Little pressure. First gear. Ooh, somebody had a bad wreck over here. Another guy got hit with a trailer, just like the story that I told not long ago. I don't know if you guys will be able to see it, but right up here, once I pass him, this guy turned and tore up a guy's front end. Right here. That red truck turned into that white truck that's over there. Because technically the white truck was in the wrong lane. I don't know why the white truck went inside like that. It's a double turn lane, and any of you that drive trucks know trucks take the outer lane, so you got all the lane to turn. Well, there's a truck here and a truck here. I don't know why the white truck went right here, because he would have had to swing all the way out to miss the curve, which in turn would make this truck not be able to make his turn. So this truck turned into that truck because that truck was in the wrong lane. So I don't know who they're going to put at fault on this one, because technically the white truck was in the wrong lane, but the red truck hit the white truck because he should have been watching his mirror. So in my eyes, they're both at fault, but they'll probably both get a ticket 9 times out of 10, but who really knows? Kind of sucks. It's a shitty day. Basically put it on cruise and cruise our way all the way back unless there's a traffic jam or something along the lines of that. But on the 465, we're going to take 465, 72. Oh, 74. My bad. Not 72, 74. The Jake brake's still on. all the way down to about 11. Give it a little brake. Just like so. It's all in your throttle pedal. Like that. We're on 74, which takes us all the way home, well, to Leroy, and then 74 pretty much all the way home, back into town, and then 74 to 55, 55 to 39 to get to the shop. So just like that, we cruise control and we pretty much go all the way back home just like this without touching much of anything. But it's simple, it's easy, anybody can do it in my eyes. It's not that hard, it just takes some learning. I had to learn how to do it. I actually learned how to drive a truck like this with the Jake brake on, because when I was taught, I was told not to touch that. It stays on, don't touch it. So I had to learn how to drive that way. But like I said, I also learned by ear, which is how I learned my shift points with a straight pipe truck. So I had to totally revamp the way I drive when I started driving this truck, since you can't really hear this truck, especially if you got music playing. So just one of those things. But you know, eventually one of these days you'll be able to hear this truck. So, but with that being said, we're gonna get on down to Leroy so we can get loaded with some more empty boxes and then head on home. See, nobody in that dock, nobody in that dock. Cool. They got 4 docks, but on the off season they only use 2, so. Swing on around here. Get lined up with the dock. Doors open. Get the front end aired all the way up. Get backed in a little bit. Then get our rear overinflate aired up to around 50 pounds. This is what I'm talking about, if you can see their dock here. See that lip?
In a quarter mile, turn left onto East 200 North Road.
Jesus. Going slower than I thought I was. Shoes off, shoes on, wipe off, Mr. Miyagi. Oh. Wipe the door down again. Every day, been here every single freaking day. But it's nice going to places that you've been to before, especially when it comes to seed stuff like this, because most of the time I don't have to freaking check in. To get in the dock, I can just bag in to the dock and get loaded. Shoes off, shoes on, so my foot don't slip off the pedals, because they're slick because they're clean. All right, windows down so I can see and hear. That's the most important thing, is here, because if I I want to be able to hear if I hear my tanks hit the ground. Gotta go in slow. Got our trailer lined up. Front end aired up. Rear end aired up. So about 50, a little over 50 pounds. Hit it again since it's bleeding off like it's supposed to. Just like that. Didn't hear my tanks, so that's good. Boom. Got the front down. And we are good to go. And just like that, before I could even walk in the office, they already started loading the truck since they know what I'm getting. But I'll show you guys this lip that I was talking about that I hit my tanks on the last time, because I don't think I got a good video of it last time. Right there, you can see my bumper. It goes straight down. So that's what I'm talking about, that lip right there. So you can see how it's cut from where what it used to be to a little bit of a drop, but that was the reason for the rear overinflate, which you can see is still overinflated right now. So, which it'll slowly drop itself down, but because I'll hit my I won't hit my actual tanks, I'll hit my tank supports down here, which I've actually hit one pretty hard. This one back here. That one's bent, and this one's bent. That one's straight. So, that's why I did the rear overinflate. Mainly because of this place, but because I've hit a couple times. So, I'm gonna sit here, wait to get loaded. Got all my paperwork already, got their stuff signed that they need, and we gonna go home.